which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have to announce that tonight's meeting is both being video and audio taped. If anybody else is doing so, they should say so now. That mean you don't know?
Yep.
Okay, we'll go to minutes.
Motion that we approve the minutes from June 16th as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Old business. Starting with the discussion of record of regionalizing the dog, Mr. Nardi.
Yes. Joshua?
Yep.
We asked Joshua
I didn't know he was here.
to come out from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission regarding the regionalization of the animal control and where we're at this point in time. Just to bring everybody up to speed, our animal shelter, or our services right now, Sarah's facility cannot be used to house animals. We discussed this back in the spring about possibly regionalizing with Munson, Palmer, Hardwick, and what other community, sir?
Munson, Palmer,
Ware.
Warren, Ware, 5 total.
Yes, there's 5 total. So there's been a rough draft put out. We invited Pioneer Valley to come in tonight and elaborate a little bit on that. I've recently gone through the draft and I contacted Joshua regarding this. The board had decided that we were interested in regionalizing for a number of reasons because of cost. Palmer's animal control officer, Wendy, had come out and discussed the possibility, and we need to act and we need to do something. Presently, we can't house dogs there, so we're looking for a temporary shelter until we enter into this agreement, until something is potentially built. I think 3 to 5 years down the road, they're looking at building a new facility out in Palmer. So we invited him in tonight just to explain a little bit about it, and I wanted our board to hear a little bit about what they had to offer. There's been a recent meeting. I did receive the notes from the last meeting. I will be in attendance at the meeting. I think it's on the 28th.
Sure.
I'll be attending that meeting in Palmer, representing Warren. So if you could, sir, give us a little background on where we're at right now.
Do you want to come up here or
Yeah, sure.
stand back here?
Thank you.
So, at the PVPC, the legislatures, they make available this DLTA, District Local, should I sit down?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
District Local Technical Assistance monies that's made available for the RPAs across the Commonwealth. There's 13 of them, as you know, PVPC is one of them. And the DLTA funds focuses on 2 areas. It allows flexibility for municipalities to look into sustainability planning and land use development. And the other component of it is areas of regionalization. So sometimes what's happening is municipalities, especially the small to mid-sized communities, often will knock on our door and try to look into the possibility to share services with other communities. And in this case, Palmer, it was Ware that reached out to us for DLTA funds to look into possibly seeing what their options are for sharing shelter services with other communities. And so with that, these 5 towns that you mentioned, they were all connected one way or another when it came to animal control shelter services. So for instance, Palmer and Ware currently have a shared arrangement. Palmer also provides, with permission from the town, sheltering services for other communities, including I think sometimes in Warren, when your ACO doesn't have space in her house and so forth. So it was all connected one way or another. So the conversation of sharing and regionalizing just made sense. We started the task force. We looked into what the possibilities were. We had other regional animal control shelter models come in and do presentations of their models and how it's working, and see what it is that we can do differently to make this regional model work for these 5 towns specifically. So with that, we put together a draft analysis. I'm not sure if you were able to share it.
I have a copy of it, I'm not sure what the board does. The draft that they sent to us,
I have a draft.
I
one email.
printed it out.
I have a copy of it.
I did share it with the board.
Sorry, all about one.
That's okay.
You can keep that one. In that analysis, just kind of more or less shows, tells what the current infrastructure is like, and also lists in detail what the possibilities are. It even suggests for these municipalities to apply some sort of regional commitment so that you can work toward building a new facility, and then also list the possible funding that's available and help with any capital costs for that. But with that, before they can even consider looking into doing capital fundraising efforts to build this new facility, they need to have this regional agreement in place so that there's commitment and buy-in from the municipalities moving forward. So I made myself available to field any questions that you may have concerning the direction that this project is going.
Do we know what this is gonna cost us a year?
So in the,
We do here, Bob. I have a copy. You'll see it down here.
so there's two schemes, that one,
Yep, I got it.
and in the analysis, look, there's two schemes.
Yep.
There's, since Palmer and Ware already utilize both ACO service and shelter arrangement, it came down to $2 per resident for Palmer and Ware, and then $1 per resident in the three other municipalities that are only looking for shelter arrangements.
Correct.
But then we talked about, okay, what if everyone wants to go on full regionalization and use both ACO services and a shelter arrangement, and it stays at the $2 per resident analysis there. If now, in that specific scheme where both services are being used, the three municipalities that are currently not using the ACO, is it Warren, Hardwick, and Ware?
Yes.
Would all have to opt into using both services, opposed to one out of the three municipalities wanting to use both services. If you read through the analysis when you have the chance, actually, it's very informative. It has a budget breakdown of where the costs are what the costs are for. We try to be sensitive to the idea of, okay, how is it can we look into this? How is it that we can build a program that's going to meet the local needs, the local bylaws and state regulations, but at the same time, this facility is going to be able to operate efficiently and effectively without spreading the ACO too thin, taking on 5 communities. So in the budget, it has a breakdown of, you have your full-time ACO, your part-time assistant that will assist with the coverage in the 5 different communities as well as manning the shelter itself.
So I reached out to Wendy regarding that question because I was looking at the sheltering and the animal control, which is the $2 per person. So basically, folks, what it's based on is the 2000 census of our population of 5,135 residents. So the amount comes out to $5,135 if we're only to use it as a sheltering service. You would double that if we're going to use it as sheltering and animal control. So it would be roughly a little over $10,000. We presently spend about $9,800 on the animal control budget a year between services or expenses and that. So it's not that much of a difference if we went the other way. Myself personally, I'm in favor of regionalization. We're having an issue, as you know, with we're trying to house animals now. We can't afford, our town can't afford to build a new facility at this time, nor could we probably afford to do it in 3 to 5 years. So sharing the cost with other towns, other communities, I think is in our best interest at this point in time. Palmer's facility presently is fairly small. Wendy does have some concerns about taking on the animal control portion of this also, and what would that mean for our present animal control officer, Sarah? And how would she relate to this? Wendy did mention possibly bringing her into them or into Palmer. That still has to be worked out, but this contract here, or this draft that was drawn up, was for 3 years. It's not going to be signed tonight, or we're looking at maybe possibly trying to do something by the end of the summer in August, but for 2 months now, we have no way of housing animals if they're to be taken in and sheltered at any point in time because of her condition. So I asked them to come in tonight just to discuss that. So it's not, the cost-wise, you're talking about probably about $500 difference in the budget for sheltering and animal control as opposed to $5,000. So that $5,000 would have to be paid, and we would still have an animal control officer if we went with just the sheltering service. So you're looking at probably about $13,000 then, with the $8,000 we're spending now with the animal control. So these are the options that we have before us, and we have to make some sort of a decision, you know, this summer. We need to give them sort of a commitment as to what we would like, so that all communities, the 5 communities, can get on board and we can move forward with this. So that's why we asked them to come in tonight and discuss it and give you guys the information that we need to make the decision down the road.
Mr. Gagner.
I have a quick question. What would you say would be the average response time if somebody were to call regarding an animal?
So they say that ACO shouldn't, it shouldn't take an ACO more than 20 minutes to get to respond to a call. And with the 5 municipality arrangement, Hardwick would be the farthest community at exactly 20 minutes. So it kind of worked out in that favor. So as far as responding to a call, it shouldn't take an ACO more than 20 minutes to get it from its home base location to the town. Responding to a call at, I don't know. So, you know, does it make sense?
It does.
So is it my understanding that the new facility that they're discussing right now is going to be off of Old Warren Road, potentially? That Palmer has land up there?
So we tried to identify some low-hanging fruits, and this specific site is already owned by the town. There's already some plans in place some schematics in place to move its DPW there. At the present moment, the DPW and the animal control officer both share the same site on Bridge Street in Palmer. And the accessibility of it's easily accessible to each of the 5 communities. The structure was there, and it made sense.
All right, so what type of commitment are you looking from our town, our community, moving forward, and how soon?
So, well, as soon as you can. Palmer, right now, Palmer, what they're waiting for is to see where the other communities stand before they introduce this 5-town regional arrangement to his board. of
When are you
selectmen.
expecting the answers from them?
I meet with Hardwick, I meet with Hardwick on, next week. Their town administrator is currently on vacation. I met with the other, right now the arrangements with Palmer and Munson, so I already met with Munson. They already have that shared arrangement, they're on board, it's nothing new to them. So it's just, which communities am I missing here? I say Ware, Munson, Palmer, then there's you guys. So everyone is just kind of waiting to see where other communities stand.
Everybody else is going.
Yeah, so I mean, as soon as I know at least that everyone's leaning more toward in favor of it, then, you know, I can take on the next initiative and say, hey, can we
We have already
know by
got-
such and such date?
We
But
have
right now, I
already
don't have a
Excited
date.
for housing of the dogs, so we can't do that anymore. So we're gonna have to get into
Well,
regionalization here
We're in
somewhere.
favor of regionalization, it's just a matter of, is it just sheltering, or is it sheltering and animal control? And that's the difference right now, what we need to agree upon. And three of the 5 communities are sheltering and animal control, correct? And we're, us and Hardwick are the only ones that aren't?
I don't know what the Hardwick arrangements are, but right now, Warren and Ware, you guys, it's the same ACO, same arrangement, so it's being in their house.
Where Warren and
ACO's
Hardwick are
house,
not.
yeah.
So there's 3 of the 5 are not, they're just on here as sheltering only.
So, right,
And the other 2 Munson and Palmer are sheltering animal control because that's presently their situation. Okay.
and with the ACO too, I mean, it does make, if all municipalities decide to do the $2 per resident arrangement and utilize both services, I can see your current ACO at the just working hand in hand with Wendy and both operating the facility. It makes sense, but we haven't had that conversation with your ACO. We don't know how she
Okay.
feels about it or.
And that's kind of the feeling I got from Wendy when I spoke to Wendy, that that's pretty much what the offer would be, is to move her into a position with them and utilize her services.
And she'll still get, she might have a slight variance of an increase of the income that she gets at the moment, but not much of a difference.
I don't think she'd object.
Hmm?
I don't think she'd object to an increase.
So we need to vote one way or the other, whether we're out to sheltering or the animal control and the sheltering. I mean, it doesn't have to be today, but that's what we need to take under advisement at this point in time and come to a conclusion. So the meeting is the 28th, I believe, sir?
The last Thursday of the month?
Okay, yep, yep. So prior to that, you'd like a decision from our town, our community?
By next board meeting, your next board meeting, I guess, would be
2
fine,
weeks.
because the other communities are currently having the same conversation, so
Okay.
we can have the whole month of July to have that conversation.
I think it's fair to say we can probably make the decision in 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
2 weeks or
That's
4 weeks?
excellent.
Well, 2 at our next meeting.
Yeah.
We'll bring it up for a vote.
Okay.
Is that okay? Yes.
Do that.
So
Thank you for coming in.
I appreciate you asking me if you have any questions.
These are,
Yes, thank you.
no problem.
You want to give these? I have a copy of this, don't you, Ms. Loretta? Those are just copies.
These are all the same copies.
Anybody have any questions, concerns, thoughts? Good. Hey, I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next thing on the list is the highway complaint. It is old business, it's misconduct complaint for the highway. Do we have all the paperwork to put together for that? Like minutes of that meeting?
That particular matter was handled in executive session.
Correct.
It's the board's pleasure, which, do they wanna open an executive session meeting at a future time, approve those minutes and release them, or conclude the matter?
So I think we should table this till the three of us can go over the minutes and decide whether or not we're gonna release them.
Okay, it's fine with me.
I'm good with that.
Question?
Huh? Yes, sir.
Was the police department reprimanded for the same thing, or just the highway department?
Just the highway department.
Doesn't make any sense to me. You'd think he'd be fair and reprimand both parties.
Well, this is not, you're talking about stickers, that's not what this is about.
So it's not about, what is it about?
It's about a executive meeting complaint that we had for the highway department.
About what?
If we could tell you, it wouldn't be executive meeting. It's not about the stickers on the trucks, which is what you're talking about, which is also involving the highway, the police department.
Okay.
All right, the next one is, excuse me.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Council already approved a report, correct? On April 30th. And that was supposed to be available to the public.
That's not, that's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
No, is that regarding the sticker issue, or is that regarding this other matter? I'm not sure which one, because the other matter is still in executive session, we have to close executive.
right now, we're talking about the executive meeting.
Right, so we'd have
Which
to
is
close
the
that to be able.
employee, correct?
It's a personnel issue, yes, so we'd have to close the executive session, approve the minutes, and then we can release them, so we can't release any information until executive has been closed.
But you've already paid council, they've already finalized the report.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so,
So now we gotta look it over and figure out if we're gonna release the minutes or not.
all right.
And whether or not there's anything in it that has to be redacted. So the next one would be the resident snow removal complaint, which is Mr. Hegan up on East Road. I went up and talked to Mr. Hewitt. Mr. Hewitt has had words with the highway department. He does not want to talk to the highway department. He won't talk to the highway department. I went up and talked to him. I didn't see a lot of problems on the road that he thought they were plowing onto his road, onto his property. He said they knocked his sign down. I offered to fix his sign. He does not want to fix the sign. He called Todd Smoller, the state rep. Todd told him the same thing, there's nothing he can do about it. It's a highway department problem, and if he won't talk to him, there's nothing we can do about it. So, there are pictures here, if you wanna see them. I don't see anything wrong, I don't know what he's talking about. When I went up there, I didn't see anything wrong with it. Anything I think he's plowing onto this gentleman's property is sand, it's maybe on the road when they plow, even if it's on his property, I'm not even sure if it's on his property.
Is that fence?
But
on
he's
his
still
property?
gonna, what?
Is that his fence?
I don't know. I didn't see the fence when I went up there.
Dario, there's notes on the back of those pictures that probably explain what you're looking at.
Okay, thank you. Just they're all smudged.
He was not complaining about the fence when I went up there. He was complaining about the sign and the debris that they were plowing onto his property.
That's what it looks like.
And I guess he had words with Tom and he won't talk to Tom. If he won't talk to Tom, then there's nothing we can do about it.
We can only ask him to plow a different route. We put that request in,
Excuse me?
to change the plowing route, the direction, to try to.
It's 2 streets that go like this. I don't know how he's gonna change it. You could ask him. And the next one is right up your alley. It's the net meterings.
Well, Your Energy, were they supposed to come in tonight, or? Okay, well, as far as, and just in case anybody's aware, the lease agreement on the landfill is moving forward. The net metering agreement, the board decided back, I think it was in March 24th, that we would agree to go with Borrego and the landfill solar. We had Kurt Malin in from Housatonic discussing a net metering agreement. Mr. Sarno from Borrego came in and presented something. I met with our town planner a week prior to that to discuss the options that were available. Seer Energy came in and made a proposal last August and September. My opinion and the decision I made and why I chose to go with the landfill was it was a better option than Housatonic, and I felt it was a better option for us doing business with a business partner within the town. Rather than putting it out to somebody who's just coming in to try and sell us net metering credits off of somebody else's solar energy in another community. So I wanted to maximize the benefit of having them coming in and doing business with us by having the net metering with them. And it was either gonna be them, in my opinion, Borrego or Housatonic, that I thought we should go with. Mr. Scanlon felt that the landfill solar was a better option. I also believed that. I brought it before the board and we agreed to pursue that further. So at this point in time, I don't really have anything else to discuss with Seer Energy and Graham Noll and Charles Jenkins, I think it is, regarding any net metering options. They are net metering with the school right now. The school's entered into a contract. And that was one of the reasons why I kind of decided that I really didn't want to go with it, because we were hoping to host for the school. And when the school jumped on theirs first, kind of left the town out, hung us out to dry. So I'm gonna stick with the business partner and the relationship that we have, in my opinion, with the landfill at this point in time, so I think that's close.
Graham Nolan called.
Yes.
We are no longer interested in him.
No, that's Seer Energy. We're okay. And he has my number, he can contact me at any time. That's fine. I'll let him know.
Okay.
I'll call him.
Have anything to say?
I'm good.
Okay.
Excuse me. Can you explain for the folks in the room what net metering is so that they understand what you're talking about?
Energy credits. So it produces X amount of megawatts per solar farm. There's a certain amount of energy that we are allowed to, and it's not 100%. I think it's in the range of about 90% that we can actually use some of that energy to power our buildings. We're not actually taking the power, but we're taking the energy credits and we're applying them towards our electric bill, and it's allowing us to reduce our electric cost monthly, whether it be, it's not through street lighting, no. We do not own the street lighting, it can't be applied towards that, but it can be applied towards town buildings and that. So when Mr. Scanlon did the analysis of how much energy we use within the town buildings, we came up with a factor and an amount to be able to net meter, and it will offer us significant savings over the next 20 years. That has to go before the town floor, correct, Laura?
Yes.
So that is the last part of the solar landfill portion that we have to bring before the town for town's approval.
Special in the fall?
The plan, I think, is the special in the fall. I know Mr. Sarno is interested in getting that.
They're trying to get it done.
Yes, getting it done. So the fall special will probably put on as an article.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, then we can go to comments and concerns.
Yeah, I have a validated claim from the ACLU regarding my campaign signs being stolen off private property and thrown in the dumpster outside this building last year. If I may just ask Bob and Lorena a couple of quick questions. I'm trying to clarify some of the records that I have here. Did Chief Spirikowski ever ask you if you know anything about that?
I don't think so.
Okay, Lorena?
You know about what, sir? About taking signs down?
The signs being thrown in the dumpster.
Not to my recollection.
Thank you. Yeah, that's about it for now.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm here on behalf of the Warren Action Committee, and this is regarding some letters that we have sent to the Board of Selectmen. A couple of them date back to January, and we have not received any response yet. So I don't know if I should send a separate request,
Probably better off.
okay? And the other thing that I wanted to go over, we've been asking for a list of town-owned properties. We asked back in January, we didn't get anything. We asked again in May of this year, and it was, I'm gonna say around one of the May meetings, we were handed a sheet of paper, well, a couple sheets actually, and it said tax title accounts. I guess we just assumed that was town-owned property, so we sent another letter specifically to Mr. Lavash as the tax title custodian, asking him a bunch of questions, you know, what's the process in selling these old properties, and what's the status on each property. And you came to one of our meetings, I think, the week before, our last one, and you had said that you can't do anything because this is not town-owned property.
Now, what I said is the custodian does not have anything to do with the properties until they are our own.
Right, till the town owns them.
The rest of those are in litigation, so you can't get a lot of information on the rest.
Right, so, I mean, I don't know if we were given this list by mistake, but we still want a list.
Specifically town-owned property.
Town-owned
Yeah,
property.
You'd have to get that off the assessors.
Because when you were at that meeting, we asked you where we could go, and you had said you didn't know, so.
Well, I'm assuming you're gonna have to get, I don't know where else you would go, except to the assessors. The assessors have the list of who owns all the property in town.
No, I don't wanna know who owns the property, I wanna know the property the town owns, taken by, I don't know, lien, property that Warren owns.
Houses, land, both.
Right, property, land and houses.
At this point, there isn't any.
But the
So you
properties
don't know
that
what you own?
you've gone already and you've auctioned off some properties that the town owned. Those are properties we wanna know, how many are left to be auctioned, or some sort of a sale, or whatever, that the town currently can do something with.
I know of two. They're land, they're not properties. The two that they were auctioned, one was on, they're both on Southbridge. One was on Southbridge, it wouldn't sell because it wasn't perked. The other one didn't sell because the bidding went crazy, they got $45,000 for it, and then the gentleman didn't buy it. So that one, those are the only two I know of. There's none that I know of that we own that have buildings on it. You'd either have to check with the assessor or the treasurer. I don't have a list of those.
I think that's why our board is here today, is just to find out who does have the authority to do things. I mean, we've got properties that the town have owned since 1940, or in the 40s, that is 30, almost 40 acres up on Crouch Road. And you had said that
One
last
that's
meeting.
landlocked.
You had said it was landlocked, but then I found a plan that showed that there's 4 acres in the front, it's like 50-some-odd foot of frontage, I believe it was, that the town owns, that goes right to it. If that's,
Town doesn't own that property.
who does own it now?
I don't believe it's in the town's name, so when they put that on the assessors map, that's incorrect.
It's on the assessor's map, that's why I
Yeah,
thought
the
if it
town
was,
doesn't own that.
if it was owned by
It
the
used to be
town.
ball diggers. There's a 50-foot strip and then it
But
opens up.
this is the thing, if you look at all of the properties that you showed us in that letter, there's a
The
whole
tax
bunch of them unknown. I mean, shouldn't the town own those by now? I mean, it's been many, many, many years, not just 2 or 3 or 5 or 4.
You still wouldn't, I don't know. You'd have to
It just
talk to
seems
the
like with the amount of taxes that the taxpayers are paying in Warren, that if we could get rid of some of that stuff off the books, it's just not collecting any money, whether it's whether it's landlocked or whatever, if one of the abutters even bought it, at least it would put it back in the tax roll. Because if you add up all of those unknown properties and all of the other things that are on that list that have been on that list forever and ever, there's a lot of money that's sitting there that the rest of us are making up for it. So we're just saying, we would like a list, and every time we ask, well, you gotta go ask this board, you gotta go ask that board. We wanna know who we really ask, and
I
if
would
they,
say the assessors know exactly who owns what land and what,
well, they don't know because it says unknown, so they don't know either.
well, then nobody knows.
But why doesn't somebody know? Why doesn't somebody take
Because
a...
it's unknown?
Because they can't trace it back far enough to find an owner.
I'm sure that if that's the case, then the court would say, it's the town of Warren's.
I mean, here's one,
Don't you think?
1984.
I would suggest you,
I would agree.
Well, it
I
just
would
seems like
suggest that you go talk to the treasurer.
To who?
The treasurer.
the treasurer already came in and he had said, at one time, he didn't know either. I mean, he knows some of them. I mean,
He
I'm...
seems to know.
I don't know what to tell you.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll take the lead on this, and I'll work with the action committee to see if we can get that type of list and where it would be available.
We want the list, but on the other hand, we really think it's time that someone stepped up and took the property. If it's unknown, it should
Absolutely,
be
but we
owned
gotta
by the
start
town
with
of
getting
Warren.
that list,
Yeah,
so we'll
right.
take, we eat the elephant one bite at a time. We'll take that first step, and then we'll make a game plan, and we can move forward with it.
Okay. And then one of the other properties I just want to ask about is Crescent Street. The old, I can't think of the name, master-owned property. I think it's number, is it 26?
26.
26 Crescent Street. The town is spending money on a property that I thought that someone else owned, and now I'm finding out that maybe it did happen. We want to know the status of Crescent Street.
Which property?
Master owns, I believe it was, on Crescent Street. There's an old red one that's been...
The big red house?
Yeah.
26 Crescent.
We were told that someone took it over, and they
Somebody,
wanted...
we sold the title to that house.
Okay, then how come Warren sent equipment up there to tear part of it down? And-
Because the building inspector said it was dangerous, he wanted it taken down today.
Will the town get paid back for that?
They have to, they got a lien on the house for it.
Is there a lien on the house? That's what I guess I'm asking.
There's gotta be a lien on the house, if we're spending money on it,
I would hope so.
so wouldn't I?
That's all I guess I'm asking, I would hope so. It, in all due fairness, it doesn't seem like things are ever followed all the way to the end. I guess that's what I'm asking, just, when you look at how many unknown properties and everybody in this room is paying what they're paying for taxes, then you think that's kind of unfair, that we're all paying for somebody else that doesn't pay anything, and no one knows who
When
owns
I
it.
wanna find out who owns a piece of property,
Yeah.
I go to the assessors.
I can go in there and they're gonna tell me it's unknown. I'm saying, can the selectmen do something to find out if it isn't owned by anybody, and they don't know who it's owned by, why can't the town take it, ownership of it?
I mean, it's been unknown since 1984. I mean, we're all gonna be dead and gone, and it's still gonna be unknown.
But the one on Crouch Road is 40-something.
Yeah, there's a lot of
1940-something.
land.
If the town hasn't had taxes paid for 65 years, they basically own it.
You'd think.
Maybe by abandonment or something.
Well, I mean, you could never
But
pay
nobody's
the...
doing anything, that's the whole
That- that
thing.
would
Well, you have a valid complaint with that, that's lost
That
time.
would be a great place to put it.
One at a time.
That would be a perfect place to put a cell tower if the town of Warren could take it and then get paid for it.
I don't think it's high enough up on the mountain.
Well, just a suggestion.
Jim's gonna start, I'm gonna do some research on this on my end, through some of the contacts I have. I'll find out some of the logistics as far as how long do we have to wait before it does become town-owned property? Can we just take it, can get the unknown phrase, the tag off of it, and where we can go. So I'll research some of it on my end, and Jim's gonna research it on this end here.
I'll work with you guys.
And we'll give you some answers on that, so I'll look on that. I'll look on
Okay,
that.
thank you.
I've been there. Anybody else? Michael?
Yes, good evening. Dario, I just wanted to follow, or actually the three of you, I guess. I just wanted to follow up regarding the emails back from May regarding the postcard issue that I emailed you about. For some reason, you had stopped communicating after a certain date, and I just wanted to follow up. So I had asked you a few questions. One of those questions was about the letter that Mr. Jim Fountain had dropped off at the municipal offices, and asked, some questions, why were they displayed and why were they there? And the other question was that I had actually talked to the state and found out that the letter that Jim Fountain turned in would actually be a public record, and you had actually supposedly talked to town council and wrote back to me and says it wasn't a public record, that it was considered a handout, so.
I told you I spoke to town council regarding that?
I believe so,
No, I didn't. Basically, Michael, that letter came in, it was on the desk in our office.
yeah.
It was there for everybody to see. If a correspondent comes in and we have to
Yeah.
review it, we review it. It becomes part of our office. Doesn't mean we're publicly displaying it or supporting anything, but it comes in, if somebody drops something off, whether it's you, me, anybody in this audience, we may read it. It's gonna come into the office. It could be part of our mail. So I don't recall calling council to ask them that question though. So
Okay, well, I went to the other offices and it turns out that letter was publicly displayed, and that's what I was asking.
So did you ask those
Your
offices
office
why?
saying, why did you allow it to be publicly displayed?
Excuse me, it's not publicly displayed, it's put on our desk in there, like all papers.
Yeah,
Matter of fact, if I can remember correctly, it was right beside your poster,
what do you mean, besides my poster?
your little postcard, whatever you wanna call it.
Oh,
They
okay,
were both on the desk in there.
oh, okay. Well, the pictures I have doesn't have the postcard there. So, so you're saying that him dropping off that letter does not make the town responsible for anything, is what you're saying?
So Mr. Fountain dropped off a
so
letter to
what
our
are we-
office, we're not responsible for the letter? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, yes,
For the
It's a
contents of the
document.
letter?
I'm sorry?
For the contents of the letter?
Well, for two things, yes. There's a separate issue regarding the letter that was written not being true and correct, which means it had false information inside of it. And it was intentionally hand-delivered to municipal departments, including the chief of police, which then got to Lisa
Well, how
Pensinger.
would that, I don't understand, how would that make us responsible for the content of that letter?
Well, that's what I'm asking. You allowed the letter to be displayed, and it was proven
By your own admission, you just said it's public records. Public
Yes.
records are sitting there for anybody that wants to see it, can
Right,
come in and see it. If you wanna call that displayed,
right.
Was that not mass mailed as well? Did everybody get a copy of that letter?
no.
The whole town did. Oh, the letter? Oh, no, I don't.
No.
Okay, that was just a statement.
So that's what I'm asking is, so I had brought it to your attention through that email that that document was not true and correct. And I was surprised that even after the elections, it was still here over a week after that. And that was my question to the board, is why,
We don't destroy public records. They stay. I mean, if you're
Right.
calling it a public record, it's part of our
Right.
office, it's part of our
Right.
office.
but you,
We're not gonna take it outside and burn it,
right, no, I understand, sure.
so
So,
it's a public record, Michael. It stays.
so it is a public.
Whether you think it's untrue or
Okay.
not, that's your opinion.
Right, correct, yes.
Somebody else wrote it, they read it, and that's it.
If
Yeah.
they send a letter to the selectman's office, it becomes public record.
Mhm. Okay. And then the other thing I had is, so Jim Fountain had turned this letter in to the police department.
You know, more importantly,
Yes.
why did you ever allow it to be published that it was by our board? That's the biggest question here. There's no other question why anybody else is involved. Why
Yeah.
did you allow it to be able to be posted on that postcard that it was paid for and sponsored by the Warren Citizens Action Committee? That's the question you should be asking whoever did it, not the selectmen for reading a letter that I wrote. We were just trying to clear our name. You should have been doing the same thing.
Well, the email that I received from Turley between.
Excuse me, you
Yeah.
two gentlemen should not be addressing each other.
I'm just saying,
I
I'm trying to.
understand that. I
Tell you, I
that.
understand.
You shouldn't be addressing each other, you should be addressing the board.
Right, which is what I'm doing. So my next question is, so Mr. Fountain admitted during a CAC meeting that he turned that letter into the chief of police, which is fine. So the thing I don't understand.
Mr. Chairman, that letter was not turned into me. I did not get personally a copy of that letter.
That could be true and correct, but Mr. Fountain said that he.
No, but actually, what
hand-delivered.
Mr. Brill said was the letter was turned into me, and it was not.
Okay, but did the police department receive a letter then?
What is your point, Michael?
Well, my point is how did Lisa Pensinger post that letter, apparently while she was on duty, because she posted the contents of the letter on her personal Facebook page.
I have no idea.
Which is my question, is how was she on Facebook while working and posting the contents of that letter?
I have no idea.
Could I ask the chief that question?
No.
Why not?
Got your 5 minutes are up.
So you feel that the town is not responsible for that letter? So if Mr. Fountain
Things
comes
are not
in.
responsible for that letter whatsoever.
So
We didn't
what-
write it, we just received it.
Right, okay,
And like I said, your 5 minutes are up. So,
okay.
anybody else wish to address the board? Ms. Belrose.
I'm here to follow up on the letter I sent, the copy of the letter I sent to you on 6/24. I think it's time that the town start looking at issues of retaliation, harassment, and persecution directed towards people in the town when they go against the police department, the chief of police, or anyone in the town who disagrees or has a problem with issues that are brought to your attention. The Warren Police Department has been canvassing my neighborhood, both officers and the chief.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes, sir.
The issue that Ms. Bellows is talking about is a criminal investigation, and I cannot comment on it tonight.
Okay.
So he has been asking my neighbors about voter fraud. And I want to bring to the attention of this board that this board actually appointed somebody who lives in West Brookfield to represent Warren on the school committee board. Even though he sits in town all day, he lives, resides, and sleeps and keeps his abode in West Brookfield. And that's been going on for well over a year.
I don't believe he's appointed, I believe he's elected.
Okay, well, then he's an elected official who is representing the town of Warren who lives in West Brookfield. He votes in Warren. So basically, he has the same issues that supposedly I have. Questions about moving trucks in my property. You, sir, stopped and talked to me the day that I rented a moving truck to take my catering supplies from Sturbridge, Mass. To Warren Storage Facility. And I told you that day, I'm excited about keeping my stuff in Warren, so I have the receipts for the moving truck. My problem is that, you know, we have somebody in this town who lay dead in her home for an extended period of time, an elderly woman. We're not taking care of our elderly folks. We're not checking up on elderly folks. We give them a Christmas party and a spaghetti dinner, but we're not worrying, but we're gonna worry about voter fraud. There are two sets of rules in this town. There are two sets of laws, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Warren Police Department. People are stopped for DWI, other people are put in a cruiser and driven to the next town home. There has to be one set of rules for everyone in this town, not two sets of rules. And unfortunately, we're talking about something that, you know, is really, I mean, the same thing's happening to me that happened to Brian Corvo last year. I'm being set up to be the Brian Corvo of 2015. Railroaded through the court system, false police reports filled out.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe this is the forum for this.
Excuse me, I have the floor,
I
sir.
don't either.
And then false
She has
statements
her
being
comments and
made.
concerns.
False statements being made over at the courthouse, which I explained to Mr. Nardi. I heard from the assistant district attorney. So it's really time that the town look at how some people are being treated because they question things, what happens in the town.
Yeah, I only used 2 minutes. Seeing the chief is here, I have a question, okay? The ACLU agrees that my civil rights have been violated, okay? Now, this man's been violating my civil rights for the last year when he threw a bunch of bogus charges at me, and there's an audio tape that I requested. I've requested it several times, and he's holding it back from me, okay? Now, I have a right to that audio tape. Are you ever gonna give me that audio tape, chief?
Mr. Chairman, I think if Mr. Corvo had his facts right, it was the court that made the determination on his case, and if he would check with the sergeant relevant.
Oh, I have my
to the
facts
recording.
correct, okay?
Mr. Chairman, if you would check with the sergeant relative to the recording, I believe it's ready.
Okay.
Oh, the recording is ready? I can pick up the recording?
Excuse
Check
me.
with the sergeant.
Don't talk to each other, you have to talk to the board.
Well, he knows, so I can pick up the recording. That's, I just,
You just said it was ready.
I told him to check with the sergeant.
Check with the sergeant.
Check.
Okay.
well, that's a big difference. Check with the sergeant or it's ready. He doesn't know if the recording's ready. I've been asking for it for a year. It's violating my civil rights. It's gonna prove that I didn't make any threat to commit any crime, okay? It was a drunken rant. There was no threat to commit any crime. Mark Chase on the paperwork falsified. I got a thing here, all falsified documents from you.
Mr. Chairman, this issue has already been adjudicated through the court.
No. This ain't adjudicated. This is an ongoing issue with the ACLU. And it hasn't been adjudicated, and the fact that...
Brian, I think your time's up.
Okay, so the audio tape is there, is that the correct answer on that?
Check with the...
All right, thank you.
with the sergeant. Michael?
Yes. The other thing I'd like to add is regarding Mary's complaint, the chief has also been spotted when I've been staying at Mary's house, casing it out. So if that's not harassment, I don't know what is.
Okay.
All right, this
Can
is
you
a
remember what you
follow-up
wanted to know?
from April. There was an inquiry about surplus equipment. And the board was supposed to follow up and send a memo to all the departments in regarding surplus equipment. And asking if, maybe we could sell this surplus equipment. Maybe the senior center has surplus equipment. And we've got a duck race coming up, July 25th. And there's also going to be a vendor, the library is going to have vendors on the common. So I thought if we could get some of the surplus equipment, whether it's bicycles or whatever it is, and get people downtown, this is what we're trying to do. I mean, we don't care if we make or the town makes a lot of money. It's just to bring people downtown.
And try and put an auction together at the same time.
Or an auction, or just give it away. Or, put a price on the stuff. Now, the equipment, or those bicycles that are at the police station, are they still there? Oh, it's gone.
It's out in the hallway.
Oh,
Secret.
do you know if
Bicycles are doing.
they're still downstairs?
Why don't they use them?
I mean, can we,
No,
why can't we,
because they were down in the mold, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the mold, the reason that the whole bottom of that,
Asbestos.
the whole reason the whole bottom of that town hall was done, all that is in the bicycles and in the tires and the seats and whatever, and the lawyer said that we shouldn't sell it.
so should we take those bicycles and
We have to get rid of them, yeah.
get rid of them? I mean,
When?
is that gonna happen?
I wasn't really in a rush for it to go in the junk yet.
Well, I mean, what about, all this
What about it?
debris that's in the entrance of the town hall? Have you talked to the
Yeah, the
chief
stuff's
about
not-
that?
The stuff's not in the entrance of the town hall.
It's not upstairs, I hope.
Why not?
We just cleaned that out last year,
Who cleaned it up?
the Friends of the Town Hall.
Cleaned upstairs?
Yes, we did.
Oh, well, they're very neatly put upstairs now, so it's out of the way of the front. You can't throw the stuff away, it's good.
And they should
Air
auction it off.
conditioners, 3
What?
air conditioners, tires. I mean, why aren't the tires disposed of?
Because they're backups, they're good tires.
Put them in the highway barn.
What difference does it make whether it's in the highway barn or the town hall?
And what
You're
about
still
all these
storing the
Put a
tires.
boxes?
motorcycle in your living room.
They're trying to clean the town hall.
Nobody recognized either one of you
Oh,
people.
sorry.
Wait a minute, Mary.
So it's upstairs in the town hall now?
Yes. Except for the stuff that's junk and that's gone. Mary.
Two things.
Mhm.
One, I talked to you last year. I told you I wanted to buy those bikes, not to ride, but to make a fence out of. So why junk them? I'll buy them for junk, because I want to make a fence.
Well, because they have mold on them, Mary, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I'm gonna leave them outside.
I know, but we're gonna be taking responsibility for them because they've been considered, they have to be properly disposed of if you have any mold infestation in your house. So we would love to just give them away, but if we give them away, we're giving away our mold issue. And then if you end up bringing them in your house and you have a mold issue and it's caused by those bikes, now the town's gonna be liable.
It's just, there's
No, I was
liability.
gonna, I want to make a fence out of bikes.
There's liabilities.
But my-
Power spraying, can't
What?
you power spray that off?
Not according to the lawyers.
Yeah.
But a suggestion is, the town has a website, could we not put excess materials on a website like a lot of other places do? And if you go in there and look and say, hey, there's an air conditioner and kind of like have if you live in the town, you wanna buy something cheap, put a price on it, and see if
We
someone
can.
wants to buy it.
Okay.
The two options that we have is either an auction, reverse auction, if we have old equipment, or if another municipality wants it, we can donate it to them. We can't just sell it, we can't just walk into the police department and grab tires and put them out for sale. So it has to be done the proper way. I know that question was raised fairly about that, and I don't know if the memo actually went out to the departments, but I think we need to look into it, because there is some equipment. But I would rather gather up everything and do it as a whole, when there's some quantity there, than just pick and choose little bits and pieces, and try to do it in different times. So, yeah, we could do that. It's definitely something we can do.
How are those air conditioners good that are in the,
Those are gone.
Now, the town hall's still unoccupied other than the police, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
So ducks live in there?
The, until they go down the river, yes. That front area, I do see as useful by the police for the barriers, for the cones, for things that they need to be able to get in there quickly and get. Once we're at a point where the building is going to be usable, going to be accessed, then we really should look at it and say, okay, what do we do? What is the best option? Until that time,
The building is not used.
there's nobody in the building except for the police. And
but
that,
it's a land, it looks like a landfill.
it has been cleaned up. There is nobody going in there other than the Friends of the Town Hall, and you're doing a great job. But there's nobody going in there other than you.
Friends of the
In the
town hall
police.
shouldn't be in there either,
Why not?
because it's a closed building.
We got
The building is not open to the public.
last.
Okay, well, we did let them in last year to clean. That was approved by our board last year, for you guys to go up there and do some.
All right,
cleaning,
it's
so.
10 minutes off, we're gonna have to move on. Why don't we go to correspondence?
Go ahead, Peter, overtime.
Mr. Chairman, correspondence from MMA asking Select Board to complete survey on municipal programs and practices to address the opioid crisis. And I do have a copy of that right here, so we'll be getting that. You don't?
Yes, you're gonna take care of that?
Absolutely. Okay. Copies of correspondence from the Veterans Council, the various town department heads, thanking them for their efforts and contributions to the annual Memorial Day remembrances.
There was a whole list of copies of letters they sent to all different department heads or people who were involved.
Reports from Animal Control Officer on 2 recent incidents involving dogs in town.
You get a chance to read those? Do you get a chance to read those? I mean, I'm aware of one of them. I
You
was
want
away.
it? You want it?
I've read one of them, I haven't read the other one yet. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them both.
I didn't. Okay, go. Yeah.
Resident concern with large truck on corner of South and Pulaski Streets in West Warren. Can anything be done to remove?
That's the same thing that I was discussing earlier. I went down to the assessor's office to find out who owns that piece of property, and it's private owned piece of property, and there's one vehicle, so there's nothing you can do about it.
Warren Water District 2014 Water Quality Report.
Copies of that will be available if anybody wants them.
Correspondence from Mass Council on compulsive gambling with information from Mass residents who may have questions or be interested in voluntary self-exclusion. Contact the Mass Gaming Commission at 617-533-9737. Memorandum from Conservation Commissioners asking for 3 keys to be made for their department office for members Trombley, Lynch, and Demetrius.
That has already been taken care of.
Request from Jason Douglas and John Burke of the Warren West Brookfield Youth Football to hold monthly group meetings in the baseball room on the first Wednesday of every month from 6 to 7:30 p.m.
Don't have any problem with that.
Absolutely not, all for the kids. Copy of correspondence from resident Mary Bellarose to Chief Spirakowski with concerns for the chief.
And there would also be copies of those in the selectmen's room if anybody wants them.
And request from resident on Reed Street seeking information on obtaining a town easement for proposed drainage work on or around his property.
As I understand it, Tom wants to look into whether Copeland Page should write up an easement for the 2 properties.
And the fire chief report, May 2015.
And that will also be available.
That is it, sir.
Discussion on the pilot programs. I believe we pretty much covered that, didn't we?
I believe so, yes. Is there anything further? Well, we were discussing that metering. This is the pilot agreement and the need for the assessor's office to participate, as I'm reading it here, regarding, this is the Housatonic, the one on Spring Street, correct, Rhonda?
Right. That project, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, the project on Spring and Ware Road, formerly known as the Housatonic Solar Project, has been sold. It is now in the hands of Altus Solar, and that's who the town will be negotiating this pilot agreement with.
Okay. So when are we looking, what's the timeline on that, bringing them in?
With my conversations with Attorney Holland, the Altus Solar Project, they're in the process of reviewing it at this point, along with the pilot agreement for the landfill. The concern is that the Board of Assessors need to be involved for purposes of determining billing and project evaluation. As the board is aware, there was some concerns by that office that they would not be participating.
I got you.
So we're gonna have to do something to get them involved.
Yep.
Okay.
No problem.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I wanted to catch you before this last one. I had submitted a couple other correspondence. I'm just wondering.
That's other business, sir.
Oh, that's under, okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes. Year-end transfers.
We don't have anything before the board this evening other than an email from Chief Spirikowski indicating that there may be a deficit in the police department salary line. He will be requesting a line item transfer to cover said deficit once his final salary figures for fiscal 15 are complete. So my assumption is that will come before the board at the next meeting.
Yes, because we can't do anything till we get a figure.
The only question I have in regards to that, and I guess that goes out to all departments, is the chief was aware of this back in October, so if you are aware, if you're going to have a shortfall, bringing it before the town meeting at a special or an annual is better than looking for a transfer at the end of the year. So if you know you're going to be short, let us know ahead of time so we can put it before the residents at a town meeting, rather than coming for a transfer at the end of the year. So that's the only request I would make of our department heads at this point in time when it comes to transfers and knowledge of them.
Don't you think if he was efficient, he'd have a surplus?
Hopefully we'll have surplus in other areas, we're hoping.
Not this guy.
Okay, we'll go to appointments. Where's the list?
Agenda.
All right. A lot of them have, yeah?
When you get to that.
I motion that we appoint Madeline Watazik, ADA officer, for a one-year term. You want me to go through them all? then we just
Why don't you
appoint?
go like 10 at a time or something?
All right. Madeline Watazik for ADA officer. Lorena Prokop for administrative secretary. Sarah Prideaux for animal control officer. Leah Chadwick for alternate animal control officer. Nancy Lowell, census supervisor. Pete Krozik, CMRPC delegate. Rachel Carney, conservation secretary. And Timothy O'Brien for emergency management interim co-deputy director.
Second.
One more.
All right, and James McKeon as the other emergency management interim co-deputy director.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so I motion that we appoint Rebecca Acera, environmental certifying officer, Nancy Talbot as the hearings officer, Mildred Gushu as the parking clerk, Madeline Watazik, procurement officer, Sylvia Buck, Quabog Hills Tourism Council. Sharon Melly is both the SCM Elder Bus Delegate and Senior Center Director. Charlene Disley as the Senior Center Meals Coordinator. Cheryl Gagnon as the Senior Center General Helper. Kerry Ann Schmidt as sexual harassment officer. And I'll stop there because you're gonna have to abstain
Second.
for the next one.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do this one by itself.
Yep,
What?
appoint Robert Lavash Senior as sexual harassment officer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. One abstention.
All right, Copeland Page as town council, William Scanlon as town planner, S. Patrick Swain as the Veterans Service Director / Grave Officer / Agent, Scott Mansfield as the wiring inspector, and Paul Shepherdson as the alternate wiring inspector.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Wait.
Wait.
3-year terms.
3-year terms.
Robert D. Kelleher and Julie D. Vadney for Warren Cultural Council, and Stephen Skoira as the Mobile Home Rent Control Board.
Second.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I read this? Okay, at the last planning board meeting, a discussion took place regarding the town planner position. As you know, the position was once again funded at the annual town meeting. Please let this memo serve as a letter of support in approving Mr. Scanlon's contract extension for fiscal year 2016. The board is in full agreement that his services are vital to moving the town forward. If you have any questions, feel free to contact our office. And this is the contract extension that we need to sign.
So you're waiting for a motion to sign.
Motion to sign?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
What was that?
It's not legible, it's legal.
Yeah, we should be able to do that.
Is that 1 year?
1 year.
Correct.
1 year.
Treasury warrants and invoices.
And make motion we pay payroll warrant 110 for the amount of $37,421.98, and vendor 111 for $239,033.86, dated June 22nd.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna have to abstain from 114.
Yeah, no, just go to 112 and 113.
Okay. Make a motion to approve warrant 112, $36,317, and warrant 113, $189,979.99 on 6/29.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve warrant number 114 in the amount of $1,450 dated 6/29/2015.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Other business.
On the business. I got a couple of things, if I may.
Adam first.
Oh, go ahead.
I believe you have the copies of them. Correspondence, I
Yeah, but you could tell us what they are.
The first is, it submitted two things for the board's consideration. One of them is for the last 5 years, we requested that any existing non-used line item for the salary for the call firefighters, that's because we have some open slots. In the past, the selectmen have allowed us to split that money up with the active firefighters. I mean, we have a limited staff, they're doing 100 times more work than they were before. They deserve it for the small amount of money it is. So I'm just requesting that the board give permission this year for me to expend that extra money into their line item.
So you're looking for one approval, Jim, for that
Make a motion to do
so I'll make a motion to approve the payment to the On the call schedule.
Yes, I've already spoken with Bill and
Yeah,
Madeline,
and I
both
spoke
have
to Madeline
copies of
today.
everything.
So I made the motion.
I'll second that, yeah. I'm waiting for a second.
Okay.
Continue discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. One abstention.
The other was a piece of information that, basically, it was amending the call salaries breakdown. The only change in there was that I was asked by the town accountant to make sure that that included the language that included the 3 full-time firefighters that also serve as call firefighters in the town. They do their regular 40 hours, but they are also on the call force. They come back for any fires or other calls or anything like that. So they've always gotten the stipend, we just wanted to put the language in there so that everything was legit. So that was just asked that we amend that article on her request, so I also amended that with that change.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Gagner?
I am meeting with a cell tower representative on Thursday, myself and Ed, actually, as a representative of the planning board. He's going to be there as well. This company does not represent one carrier. This company represents all the carriers. They put up the tower, and all the carriers go on. He took about a day and a half. He drove all through town, and he found a couple of the spots that he feels are going to be best so that we can get coverage not just up 67 and down to the Pike, but also going down Southbridge Road, heading towards Sturbridge. I believe that cell service is as essential to a town as running water and electricity. It is just something that's needed. If your kid's broken down, they need to call you. If you're in an emergency, 911 will always work, but if you're a kid, you don't call 911, you call your parents. Okay, we need to have that service in town. I will let everybody know as this moves forward what's happening. I've already spoken to the planning board and they have agreed to listen and get us on the agenda for a week from Wednesday. And I believe it's a 7 PM that I'm on the agenda for. If any one of you or anyone out there wants to come down and show your support, please feel free to do so. And if anybody has any questions, pretty much everybody knows how to get me. If I'm not here, I'm down the station. And I have one other thing.
Excuse me.
Sir?
I just wanted to ask, is that on private property or is that on town property?
It is on private property. This company prefers to purchase the land for their own financial reasons and then put the tower in.
Thank you.
Yep, as a caveat, one moment. As a caveat, when speaking with him today, all of the municipalities will be able to put their repeaters up on these towers, and that's gonna improve service in this town. Because there are some areas that the police can't hear, there are some areas that the fire can't hear, there's some areas that Tom can't hear. This will improve all of that. Yes?
Is there a guarantee that carriers are gonna go onto that tower?
That is going to be part of it. This is the empty hole known as Warren, where
I
there's
know.
no service.
And
Everybody wants to be in here, but nobody wants to go through the hoops and everything to get the tower and then pay to build the tower just to have their one little part of it done. The beauty of this is with the tower already there, they just throw their cells up and they're leasing and they're good to go.
see, and if you live in this town and you wanna change cell carriers, you can't. I can't change Verizon, I've tried so many times, it's not even funny. They won't change because the other towns, we're on a map that's black,
Right.
so nobody will take us.
Right, and a lot of people in town, myself included, have those little devices that you hook into your computer and you then get bars in your house. Other than that, you step outside and it's kind of hit or miss. So I'll let everybody know as we move forward what's going on with this. And again, if anybody has any questions, absolutely come and see me. I'm pretty transparent and let everybody know what's going on. And I have one other thing.
Why stop?
Exactly. I don't know who was home today, but we did have an issue with the water. There was some severely brown water today. I got a phone call regarding it, and I understand these things happen. Sometimes there's an emergency and you can't control that there is going to be that rush and there will be some brown water. But when they are flushing hydrants, in this case, I guess it was the school flushing the sprinkler system, Is there something that maybe the board could do, or that could we get a letter to try to get some type of robocall out there, letting people know that this has happened and that this could come? There's a lot of kids home because it's summertime. I know if I or my wife, I say I, but it's my wife,
with your wife.
does the laundry, and that water's brown, or I go to take a shower and that water's brown, it's not pleasant, we'll just put it that way. So if there might be some way that we could find, or some way for any of the utilities or the schools
We can-
to robocall that out.
Check into it, but
Yeah.
I believe in this case, it's probably the company that's flushing. It's not the school. They probably have it contracted out. It's
Yeah.
not the water department, it's the school.
But once it happens, maybe get something out there to let people know, so that, oh, I better stop and buy some
That's why I
water
said
or
we can look
something.
into it, but I
Yep.
don't even know if the school knows when they're gonna show up.
Yeah.
Last time they didn't notify anybody. Yes, ma'am.
Regarding that notification, could you use, the police, like that reverse
The
911?
robocall, yes, that's what
Okay,
I'm
that's
talking
what,
about,
okay.
yes.
And we could talk to the water department. The water department is regulated by the state of how often they have to flush.
Right, and I know they always put it downtown as well. They try to let everybody know when they're gonna be
I don't
doing
know
it.
why they couldn't call the police department and see if they could robocall that.
So, I mean, just something to look into. If that, I mean, that might help everybody. At least you're aware of it before you turn the faucet on and step in the shower. Self-tanning.
Jim,
Sir?
Yes, Brian.
that could have been localized too, but by the school, it might have been not the whole town. So, I mean, that's a factor too.
Well, at least you're aware though, so you hit the faucet first and then, no, okay, I'm good.
Cool. Mr. Nardi.
Okay, I got two things. I had my first meeting today with representatives from Google about townwide email. Lorena has provided me with a list of employees, chairs. We're probably looking at anywhere between 50 to 100 email accounts. I'm very interested in Google. It's what the town of West Springfield uses. Our school department uses Google. It will still have a warren.ma.us domain. It won't be a Gmail account. So we're looking at a web-based service right now at a cost per user account. We allocated some funding for this last year. I have a second meeting scheduled Monday with two representatives from Google. Mr. Gagner has a company that he's been working with that we're gonna bring in to discuss this townwide email. My goal right now is to have this up and running by the end of August. Everybody, because the town employee and some board members will have a town email. We're looking for, I like the Google services right now because of the shared calendars, Google Drive, the security that's there. So it is something that we're working on. That money is not just going to sit there. We want to have this implemented by the end of August. And my second thing is a bit of good news for the school department. Starting Monday, we're gonna have the summer meals program starting at Warren Community Elementary School. Mr. Duff has some programs going on there right now. There should have been a robocall that went out tonight to all the residents. Because Warren is an area eligible school, any student that goes to our school under the age of 18 can go to Warren for a breakfast or lunch from July 6th until August 14th. Breakfast is served between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. Lunch is served between 11 and 12. It's a universal free program, federally funded, doesn't cost the parents or the students anything. Mr. Duff's programs will be taking place and participating. He has opened up the school as an open site, so anybody who walks in, if you're a teenager working and you need a meal in the summer, you can stop down between 11 and 12, no questions asked, and eat. It goes for West Brookfield residents also. If they're students, if you have friends over and they're staying at Warren, they can come down. There's no questions asked, as long as you're under the age of 18. Any adults that accompany parents that accompany children that come down would have to pay for a meal, but it's free to all the students until August 14th. So that is something new. We hope to keep the program running. The school hopes to keep the program running for years to come. But it is an available option. We hope to expand that next year. So it's the first day, it's Monday, and we're pretty excited about it. I just wanted to put that out there and let all the residents know that that option's available. Yes?
Why don't you put that in a weekly paper, look?
Well, I tried to put it in the current. We did a robocall. Lisa hadn't gotten back to me yet, but we're going to try to do the robocalls to the parents who have kids in the system to get them out there first. That's the most effective way, hitting them at dinner time a couple times a week, saying, hey, look, there's free meals here. So there's going to be hot meals, sandwiches, and salads served every day. 3 choices for the children. And that is it.
Is that more of a program besides food?
Well, whatever he has.
Is there a program going on in between breakfast and lunch?
he has a learning program going on. We're just tying it into, because he has a student body there and the site is area eligible, we're gonna offer meals. So this is gonna help his participation with his programs that he has going on during the summer. So it keeps the kids busy, puts a meal in their belly for, 2 meals in their belly a day. For parents who can't provide at this point in time, or parents who don't have daycare, they can come down. So we're looking to possibly maybe entertain the thought of doing like a movie or something during lunch, keeping the kids there for an hour and a half and giving them a meal, giving them something to do over the summer. So Mr. Duff has been pretty supportive of this, as the superintendent, so I'm pretty excited that the program's starting up over there, and it's something that's available to our children in town, so it'll be a good thing, especially for the ones that are in need. So take advantage of it, folks.
All right,
Too old.
Michael.
Under 18.
I'll let you bring my kid.
I can just take about 30 seconds, I'll make it quick. The only last thing I wanted to mention before is that regarding the postcard issue, I'll make it brief.
Michael, I
Yes.
don't wanna go back into that.
But it just take about 20 seconds, please.
Okay?
I'll make it quick. Regarding the postcard issue, I have a document here from Turley Publications that admitted that they made the error in the postcard. I know there was some stuff all over the internet and other places that may be responsible for false advertising. That is not correct. The only last thing is I'd like to turn this in to the Board of Selectmen to have it as part of the minutes, if that's okay with your approval.
Sure.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
I only had one thing. The chief was here, I believe, to get a dispatcher appointed. Now, I noticed he left, he had his 2 children with him, so I assume he had to leave. He lost a dispatcher. He has a part-time dispatcher that he wants to move up to full-time. I think I would entertain a motion to do so.
Second that.
I didn't get a motion.
No, I'll motion that we appoint them.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Can we give the name of the individual, please?
Can I have?
It was Karen Francis. The next meeting will be Tuesday, July 14th. I will be holding office hours again tomorrow night from 5 to 7. Gary?
On that same day, the FinCom is going to have a meeting as well. We're gonna join you for that meeting. We'll open ours. If there's any last minute financial things we have, we'll be with you. So if there's any last minute financial anything, we'll be here.
16th?
On the 14th.
On the 14th.
At your meeting, we'll be here in session,
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we did transfer, we could do them both the same time.
so that we can do it all at one time.
Okay.
Okay.
Raina, anything?
Not at this time, gentlemen.
Then I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, good night,
Stand.
everybody.